How to take MOTS-c. Now, this is interesting because MOTS-c, generally speaking, you want to take it in the morning because it's going to increase your energy. But in this video, I'm going to dive deeper into exactly what the benefits are. I'm going to show you how you can take other peptides based on what your goals are for optimization. We'll even jump into a study where MOTS-c may actually help with some bone loss. And so let's dive in. So MOTS-c is a mitochondrial encoded peptide, and you may not know this, but it is a peptide that makes you feel unstoppable. If you're doing it in the right way, the right sequence, roughly 5 milligrams on the lower side, which is where I want our clients to start, and then 15 milligrams on the higher side. But what you'll find is it's one of the closest molecules that mimics exercise. So it's called an exercise mimetic because when you exercise, it's one of the best things you can do for your body. In fact, there's a study that was published in the Journal of Circulation, and what they found is that this study, the cohort was about 135,000 people, and they found that exercise was the biggest predictor of long-term health. And they found that just by exercising 400 to 600 of moderate to mild minutes per week decreased your overall risk of all-cause mortality by 27 to 31%. So that's massive. And this was, once again, it was a big cohort. So just by exercising, you can naturally increase your MOTS-c levels by 400 to 500%. In one of the studies, they put individuals on a stationary bike. And after 20 minutes, they measured their MOTS-c levels before and then after on the stationary bike, and they found that the levels just jumped up, and they maintained that for about 5 hours. So MOTS-c is something that it turns on this AMP kinase, so the secondary energy bypass. It also is something that can help if you can't exercise intensely. So a lot of people who come to see us, they have what's called adrenal fatigue. And so this is where when you exercise, you almost feel worse after you exercised, and it takes you forever to recover. You may have to lay down. Well, MOTS-c and some of the clinical data that we have at Ageless Future, we've been able to see enormous benefits so that those people with, chronic fatigue syndrome or even long COVID, they can use MOTS-c and actually exercise without feeling completely hammered. And this is something that has been dramatically life-changing for so many of our clients. The other thing that you can do to naturally increase your MOTS-c levels is activate it with heat shock proteins. So just like when you exercise, your body temperature rises and ideally you get a little sweat going, that's a really good sign. And it's good for your skin, good for detoxification, good for your lymphatic system. The other thing you can do to activate MOTS-c is jump in the sauna. And by the way, if you happen to be Japanese, congratulations, because of everyone studied, the Japanese population seems to express MOTS-c phenotypically more so than any other race. So if you're not Japanese, I don't really know what to tell you. I think there's no hope. So good luck. But actually, just get in the sauna and exercise. You'll be able to express this more. So infrared sauna, there's a study where they're looking at sauna use as a lifestyle practice. And what they found is that people who jumped in the sauna and exercise simultaneously, not only did they have a much greater level of free circulating MOTS-c, but they also recovered better, they had more NAD production, and they had greater levels of mitochondrial energy and fat metabolism. So I think there's something to be said about this whole thing that the people in Scandinavia do quite often, especially the Finnish men. In Finland, they found that men who had the most time in the sauna also had the lowest incidences of heart disease. In that study, they didn't mention a single thing about MOTS-c, which is, that's the hard thing about biology is there's so many pathways that you can't look at everything because it's so complicated. But with all this cool AI capability and aggregating large volumes of data, I think we're going to learn more and more about these novel peptides. But MOTS-c is one of those that has withstood the test of time. I first heard of this peptide, I believe it was 2014 or 2015. Immediately I tried it, and I noticed a dramatic improvement in my energy levels throughout the day. I also noticed that my endurance was increased, and when I take MOTS-c, I do feel like I sweat just a little bit faster. Now, I haven't quantified that. I don't know for a fact, but for those of you who are using it, give it a try. Let's dive into some of the mechanics. How can MOTS-c help bone mineral density? And so For those of you who have osteopenia, osteoporosis, some of the medications, they can be really supportive. Some can be really hard on your body. This is where William Osler, the academic dean of Yale Medical School, he said, you know, in medicine, there's always two cures, one from the disease and one from the treatment of the disease. And so this is where MOTS-c and some of these peptides, they seem to be a bypass because of their predictive nature. They can help us align with where your future health goals are and get you there with very small side effects. If any, that's the goal. If you do them correctly, the side effects are very minimal. And so when you're considering on MOTS-c how to take it, if you're using it to build bone mineral density, you want to stack it with other peptides. And actually, it's best if stacked with peptides, and we'll go through that. So how to take MOTS-c for bone mineral density is where you want to do this Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, or whatever the other days are, but every other day essentially, where you want to be in a higher dose. You want to start at 5 milligrams injected subcutaneously, and then work up to 10 and then up to 15. But here's what they found for osteoporosis. MOTS-c helped to activate bone turnover, especially when combined with weightlifting, high protein nutrition, and adequate recovery. So if you are trying to rebuild your bone mineral density, one of the very first things you can do is do what I do. And when I take my dogs on a walk, I have this 35-pound plate in the back of my truck. And so I just pull that thing out. I have my dogs on the leash, and I carry that plate around. I also do it to embarrass my wife because, I mean, it looks really weird. People literally ask me, they're like, Regan, did you know you're carrying around a plate? And I'm like, yeah, it's from my gym. I'm doing it on purpose. I didn't just find it on the side of the road, you know, or on the trail. Usually we're in the mountains. But it's really good because you put more pressure on the bones and then you're building muscle mass. And I'll do like different bicep curls or tricep extensions. There's a lot you can do with a 35-pound plate. And it's different than just rucking. Rucking can be good for osteoporosis. But the other thing that you want to look at is, yes, get your weight training in. It doesn't have to be a lot of weight, but you do want to put some load-bearing activities on your body. Adding in Pilates. I call it Pilates purgatory because when I get on a reformer, man, the legs start shaking. You walk in and it's like, you know, my wife's a Pilates instructor, so, you know, she's super cute and fit. And then you got all these nice ladies around. You're like, oh, I got this class. 10 minutes in, I'm like, what did I get myself into? But doing it for a few years now, it's made a huge difference. But that's where you lengthen and strengthen the muscles. And it helps with tendons, it helps with mobility. And then you combine that with weightlifting, it will be phenomenal. The other thing is, yes, you need to get your minerals, your calcium, vitamin D, phosphorus. Those all need to be really solid. So do a metabolomics test so you can see if there's any nutritional deficiencies. Do a gut profile so you can see, do you have the activity of enzymes to actually absorb these nutrients? And then one of the most important nutrients you're going to need to build muscle is protein. So roughly 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight can be very helpful for your bones. And the thing that we found with the bones that gets missed by most doctors is looking at your thyroid and your parathyroid gland, because the parathyroid gland, it releases this molecule called calcitonin. And calcitonin is what informs the calcium, phosphorus, vitamin D, vitamin K to help rebuild and remineralize the bones. And a lot of times if you have subclinical hypothyroidism, we run the parathyroid stimulating hormone test and we find that that is just underperforming. There's things that you can do to help correct your thyroid and parathyroid function. And then when you add in the MOTS-c, there's one other peptide that you want to utilize that has been shown to really help bone mineral density, which is Ipamorelin. This is a growth hormone releasing peptide. Similar to testosterone, you're going to get that muscle mass increase. You're going to lose some of that visceral fat. You'll reduce your inflammation. But Ipamorelin seems to be very beneficial for building bone mineral density, as does most of the growth hormone releasing peptides. The other pathway that you can work on for bone mineral density is when you start activating the immune modulation with thymosin alpha-1, because most osteoporosis and bone loss is from having some type of autoimmune issue where that parathyroid, thyroid compilation, they just aren't communicating properly. And so thymosin alpha-1 can help clean up that signaling from your immune cells. So how to take MOTS-c? Well, once again, it depends on what your goals are, but generally every other day. 5 to 10 milligrams is a great starting place. Don't go too high on it unless you have great medical supervision. The great way to get MOTS-c is go to agelessfuture.com. Our team there is world class and they'll take very good care of you. We'll get your blood labs ran first, see what your levels look like, and then determine if MOTS-c is the right peptide for you. And by the way, there's a gift for you. If you go to the show notes, we provided a free download of my book, The Peptide Blueprint. Hope you enjoy it. And thanks so much for being part of the Ageless Future community. I'm Regan Archibald. I'll see you on the next show.